Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for January 5th, 2020. Oh, that's going to take some time to get used to. Wow, we are into a new year, and wow, did I kind of go crazy on that. So I will get to that in a second. So first I'm going to wrap up the last few books I finished before 2019 was done. So I focused to get done the two books that I had currently I was reading, and one that was an audiobook that I was listening to. So one physical and one audio, and then I picked up one more book on the last day of the year. Maybe not my best pick. Anyway, so I finished Adrift by Rob Welford around, I think on Monday. So I've been the 30th. So this was actually an interesting sci-fi. So I got this because, again, it has to do with a group that was at a mining facility that's become kind of a resort. So they're out in the middle of the universe. They're close to what's called the Horsehead Nebula. I don't know if that's actually a real thing or not. It could very well be, and I just don't know enough about that. But anyway, because I forgot to look that up. Anyway. So they're out there, and they're there and there's people who are there kind of on vacation, and this little tour group goes out in a shuttle, and so there's 10 of them all together in the shuttle, and then a mysterious ship comes out of nowhere and destroys the station. So they are the lone survivors of a massacre, pretty much. So this is the story of those survivors and what happens on the shuttle after that, well, during all that, and then the aftermath, and then what happens later when they try to get home or try to find a way to get home. So in a lot of ways, this was what I expected to be. There was a lot of good action. I would say that was one of the best parts of this. The action was always good. There was a lot of humor, but it was not always my humor. It was kind of more, I don't know, maybe just bad decisions humor. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I mean, so it wasn't perfect, and it wasn't great, and I would not say that this was the best sci-fi I've read this year, that's for sure. But it was a fun ride. This is a book I would pass on to my brother before I got rid of it, saying, hey, this is a fun ride, you might enjoy this, because he likes science fiction and fantasy that is, and horror that is, action-packed. So I think he would like this. I thought some of it was a little unrealistic. Okay, wait, you have to suspend your disbelief a lot more than I normally have to, even for my science fiction. There was a couple of times I was like, that's quite a stretch. But there was some good, twists and turns that I did not expect. I liked the way some of it went. I overall liked it. I really did. It just, it's not a favorite. It's not a book that I will reread. So, definitely it was good. It just, I had a fun, and it had served its purpose because I was in a sci-fi mood. So again, I said if you want something fun and just light, this is not earth-shattering in any way. I just think it was a fun ride, and I think that's how you look at it going into it. That's what I did, and I think that's the best way to read this book. I did enjoy it, and I would read another book by this author. I guess he's South African, which was pretty cool, because I don't read enough South African authors. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, but I don't know if he's wrote other books. I don't remember it saying here that he did, but I don't know if I really, it doesn't say. But anyway, I enjoyed it. So, I mean, it was okay, as I said, it was good. I did finally finish my audiobook for John Adams by David McCullough. Again, this is the biography on John Adams through his whole life. I listened to it on audio by Nelson Runger. I had to put a sticker in there so I'd remember. So, okay, if you like audiobooks and you're listening to anything like this on audio, he is the first one I've had to turn up to 1.75, because I usually listen to 1.5 speed. But he was so slow. I almost did 2, but it was just a little too much for me. So I went back to 1.75. He just paused way more than necessary, way long. I don't know what they were thinking when they put that together. So when there would be a gap in the narrative, he would just pause forever. Anyway, but that's the narration. The book itself was fantastic. This was definitely one of my favorite biographies that I've read. I've read David McCullough before. I read 1776 many, many years ago. I don't remember. I think it was a long time ago. And so I do like his style. And I definitely want to pick up more books by him. I also have his book on Truman and The Path Between the Seas. I want to get the one with the bridge and is it Johnstown Flood? That's the other one I really want. So I do want to continue reading more. Again, it's really funny, actually. I should really tell this really quick. Because the audiobook of this one was read by somebody else, I thought I would be fine, but this audiobook was not my favorite audiobook because, again, he was so slow. 1776, I listened to an audio, and it was, I think they were cassette tapes. And I don't know, it might have been discs. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But David McCullen did the narration for it, and I do not recommend that. Hopefully they've redone it by now. I didn't like his reading voice. It just didn't do anything for me. And this one, again, he was a good narrator, just he was slow. So it just depends on what you like. Anyway, but the book itself was really good. It was, again, I read Washington earlier in 2019, so now I got 2 presidential books under my belt. Again, as I said, I'm going to read the presidents in order, but I'm also going to do kind of offshoots on this project. Like, I'm going to do Benjamin Franklin next, and then I'll do Jefferson, and then I will probably do Hamilton after that. I have to see, I can't remember what year that was. I might have to do another president in between. I can't remember what year it was that he died. I don't remember. Anyway, point is that I'm going to do it kind of like that and pick and choose some other historical biographies from within that period, maybe on battles or issues and things that come up in the books that I want to read. Anyway, so it's going to be a more extensive than just the presidents, if that makes any sense. I just call it my presidential biography challenge for myself, just so I make sure I pick them up. So I want to pick up at least 1 or 2 of the books every year. I got 2 in. Yay. I'm glad. This was a great book. John Adams definitely is one of those in the whole founding fathers. He was always one of the ones I was most interested in. I don't know if it was why that is. Maybe it's because a lot of people were always down on him because he was so forward and or he was like, he would stick to his guns on what he wanted and what he thought everybody else should do. I don't know what about him. Anyway, not that I would want to fight with him over anything, but I mean, I don't know. I always found him fascinating. So I'm really glad I finally got to this. This was a great book. I mean, again, award-winning. I know that there's a mini-series, I think, back in the day, that was made, I think, on HBO or something. So I might go find that. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I really am glad I got that done. And the audiobook, I made it through because it was a long audiobook. And I did start that in Nonfiction November. I just started it too late in the month that there was no way I was going to finish it. So I got half of it done in November, and then I finished it off in December. And then on the last day of the year, I read The Last Day of a Condemned Man by Victor Hugo. I thought this was kind of funny. Not the book, sorry. The fact that I picked this up. I was looking for something short for the last day. I didn't want to start. I had all these books, which I'll get to in a minute, that I want to read in January, if you saw my TBR. But I was like, I got to read something in between. And I don't usually care about being a completist and make sure everything's done by the end of the year. But I was like, well, there's no reason to start anything early. So why? I don't know. I should have just started one of them early. It would have probably helped me. Anyway, but I read this. So I picked this up after I read Notre Dame du Paris, or The Hunchback of Notre Dame, this summer, because I wanted to read a few more things by him. I do have to read, where is it? Les Miserables this year, 2020. So I thought I'd pick up something smaller by him. I'd heard about this one, because again, this came out, this was pretty early, and it's his defense for abolishing the capital punishment. And so it follows a man who you don't really know what his crime is exactly. I mean, it seems like it's probably murder, that he killed somebody, but it talks about how his trial, like the end of it, like when the sentence comes down, and then his 6 weeks before he's executed. And then it really talks about the very last day, because he's writing this down the day of, that they gave him pen and paper at the end. So it was weird in the way that we don't really know what he did or the circumstances behind it. It was kind of written in a way that it doesn't matter what his crime was. He had been sentenced. He doesn't deny that he did it or anything. He doesn't, that's not the point. He just doesn't want to die. And I think it was trying to show in that time period, because again, I think it was 1832. Oh crap, I can't remember. I think so. It's yeah. I can't remember. It was something like, it was really close to 1829 it came out the first time. So sorry, this was translated from the French by Arabella Ward. Anyway, but so when this came out, it was again a defense against capital punishment. And if you think about 1829 and you think about not that many years ago, I mean, again, this is talking about the guillotine, so that was where he was headed. And it was, I did not like this. I would not recommend this unless you are gonna use this. Like, I wish I'd known about this book when I wrote a paper about capital punishment in my senior year of high school for my senior paper. It would have made my paper, it would have been a nice twist with some fiction and a defense in there as well. That would have been kind of cool. And I kind of, like, yeah, so many years later, it just popped in my head. I'm like, that would really have been good. But I don't get to do that. I don't want to go back and write that paper. Sorry. But I think this was an interesting book. I don't think people who read Victor Hugo needs to read this. I think if you are interested in looking at how people were really against the death penalty in any way, even back in 1829, and tried to write something literary. And I mean, he does some good things in here, but I also just found it wasn't great. And I think it's really because there's so much missing information and maybe some things that I don't know because I don't know the time period. Like, so there were some gaps in my knowledge that I think some things might have passed over me. So, but other than that, I mean, I finished it. I think I bought it this last year too, I think. So anyway, I got it done. It's okay. So I finished that. And again, when I finished that, I mean, I think I have to check my numbers. I still am going to do my stats. It's probably going to be up next weekend. I'm hoping. We'll see if I get it done. But I think I at least read 115 books, and that was number 115. So that was pretty good for me. It was a really good year reading wise. But so I finished that. So I was all happy. So that night I finished it about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So I just let myself, watch BookTube until about 10:30, went to bed. I didn't make it to midnight. I woke up at midnight when the fireworks are going off behind my house because I have crazy neighbors, or I have a couple of apartment complexes up there that they set off fireworks for every little thing. Anyway, so I did wake up, looked at the clock, and went, oh, okay, back to bed. Anyway, so then so I was off on the 1st, which is nice. I did something that I don't normally do, and there's reasons I don't do this, but I don't know why. I just pushed it out of my head and thought it's gonna be fine. And it wasn't. So on the 1st, I started 5 books. Now, I never let myself do this. And there is a reason I don't let myself do this. And I have got to remember this, that it doesn't matter what read-alongs or readathons or buddy reads or anything. I have to focus. Like, I can have one like physical and then maybe an audiobook, but I cannot do 5 physical books at the same time. I just can't. I don't know how people do the whole read 30 pages of this book and 20 pages of this one and do that every day. I can't do that. I don't read consistently enough. I'm not a fast reader also. So I need time. I focus better when I'm reading just one book. Even if I don't read a huge amount of pages in that book, I've read that, like I'm making progress. And I felt like on all these books on that first day, I read 20 to I think 60 pages in all the books. So it was a fluctuation of the 5 books. So I made over 130 pages, I think, in that day. Although, because I wasn't being super strict about my reading that day because it was the first day of January. I don't know. Anyway, the point is that I didn't make much progress in any of them, it felt like. I one of those people who need to make progress. Anyway, so I will show you all the books that I did start in a second, but I'm going to show you the book that I finished last night because I had to get one done. I had to stop and just go, look, I need to finish something because this is, I can't do this. I did it for one day, maybe 2 days of it. The second Thursday I might have done read a couple of books, but I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I've gone back to where I read one book at a time, but I do have a plan, so I will explain when I get there. But the book that I decided to finish was the shortest one on my TBR. Okay, so of the 5 that I started. So one of them I have not started, which was technically the smallest book on my TBR, but that's later in the month. But I joined a read along on Instagram for Hard Times by Charles Dickens. So I had been wanting to pick up another Dickens, and this one kind of popped up there at the last day, so like last minute. So on my TBR, I even added this at the very end because it was that day I decided I was going to do this. Got kind of talked into it. And then I'm glad I did. I enjoyed going back to Dickens. Again, I read Bleak House in October and loved it. And I definitely want to read more Dickens, and I want to actually focus on getting his books read. So Hard Times is his shortest novel. It is only 325 pages. And so it was a month-long read-along, and it was like about 110 to 120 pages for every 10 days. When I thought, oh, well, I'll just slip that in, you know. Well, no. So I just looked at it and went, no, forget this. We are reading this. And yesterday I dedicated most of the afternoon and evening to getting this done because I just needed to finish something. It's not that I don't mind having like currently reading books on my Goodreads. This isn't about this. This is about my focusing and me getting progress done. I am definitely one of those people who need that. Anyway, so I've rambled about that. So anyway, Hard Times. Sorry, it's not Good Times. Sorry. Hard Times is actually the book that he wrote or published after Bleak House. So I thought that was kind of fitting that I picked that up. It wasn't on purpose at all. So this one was weird for me. I mean, again, I liked it because it's Dickens. There was still his humor, his funny names for people, kind of the absurd things people do and say. The twists and turns were always interesting and good. I think that this was more of a commentary on education and on, and actually on the Industrial Revolution, or on industrialization. So this was actually published in the months right before North and South was published by Elizabeth Gaskell in the same publication. So I thought that was just fascinating because I could see some parallels in that, although I think she does a much better job with her masters and workers kind of thing than he does, because I feel like he dropped the ball. So this is not going to be a favorite for me. This is a book that I liked, but I did not love it. I don't know if I'm guessing I'm going to reread this. I am going to get another copy. It wasn't until I was reading this that I realized someone had used this obviously for a report, because there is stuff underlined all the way through it. And again, I paid probably $2 at a library sale, so it's not like I paid a lot of money for it, but it's distracting to me to see what they underlined. I'm like, what are they underlining this for? And again, it was annoying. And I admit it, I'm one of those people who, after I got out of college, I don't want to mark up my books. Or I'll tab things. Like I have tabs for where I'm supposed to read for the, which again, I just blew past. But I'll tab something or to make a note, but I do not write in my books. I never have since college. It's just, I think I got out of the habit for, 10, 20 years, and I just, no. Anyway, point is, this is not my favorite. I see why this is not a lot of people's favorites. I think this again, it's called Hard Times, but it's also kind of a harder read. And then it's not as much fun. I mean, there was a lot of tragedy and stuff in Bleak House, but I loved the way the characters developed through, and we followed them through. This, I felt, dropped the ball on several of the characters, and some people just disappeared, and I'm like, what is going on? This is weird. So I just don't feel that this is as well plotted out as some of his other books. There's a few storylines that didn't, and then I just didn't like where it went overall, and I still think it works, but it's just not as good. I don't think it's quite the masterpiece as I thought Bleak House was. So anyway, I'm glad I read this, and I'm definitely picking up another Dickens here in a couple months, hopefully. I'm going to probably pick up, I think Oliver Twist is the next one I want to pick up, but we'll see. Another shorter one. Not one of the really big ones. Because I really want to pick up one of the big ones for Victober again, because that was just a fantastic experience this last year. So, but I'm not positive which one that'll be. So if you have any recommendations, again, I've only read now 3. Oh, other than A Christmas Carol doesn't count. Sorry, that's already been done. But I have read Tale of Two Cities, Bleak House, and now this. So what do you guys think I should pick up next? Again, some of the more shorter ones would be better. Let me know. So, okay, so now I'm going to talk about the 5 books that I've started since the first and that I'm in the middle of. So my buddy read with Shawn the Book Maniac is going well. This is London Belongs to Me by Norman Collins. This is a modern classic published in 1945. It's about 1938-39 London, and it has to deal with this home on the south side of London, so not the greatest part of London at this time, and it's like all the residents of this boarding house, between the owner as well as several families that live there. And so far, I'm really enjoying this. Again, this is one I have to read to a schedule, so we are working on that. So I read this first to get it done on the 1st and the 2nd, so I was done by then. I'm going to probably pick it up today to read my pages for that I have to have done by Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'll probably do that. And then I'll probably pick it up again Thursday or Friday and so I'm going to try to do this one. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the only one I want to schedule because Shawn's on a very strict schedule with all his other reads. So I'm going to try to do the same thing. I'm not very good about reading. I think he said it was about 35 pages a day we're supposed to be reading. I can't do that. I have to just read it and then I'll get done. And then I'll do it again. So I'll probably do it a day or two for each section, because it's about 80 to 90 pages, I think, maybe 80 to 100 and some pages. This is a 720 page book, I think, or just 700 pages. Yeah, 720. And we're going to read it all month. But so far we're both enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. There's some good humor in here. This is again one of those books I would never have picked up if not for Shawn mentioning it on his channel, and then I bought the copy because we had talked about doing a buddy read earlier in 2019. It just didn't work out, but I kept the book and waited, so now we're enjoying it. So I'm interested to see how this goes. Again, it's great portrayals of the characters. My only quibble so far is that he has a tendency to use the same initial for people. Like there is a Doris and a Doreen. I can't stand stuff like that when there's only so many people so far that are main characters. You shouldn't, I mean, I'm not saying I'm confused by their names, but I think I just never like when people's names are all like the same letter. And he has like 3 letters that I think D, V, and C. There are multiple people with that name, and it just drives me crazy. Anyway, that is the only little quibble I have so far, but I'm really enjoying it. We're only about 95 pages in, so I'm hoping to get to 178. Maybe later today. We'll see. I'm gonna at least attempt that, so we'll see what happens. Oh, actually, I'll put that last. Okay, so this book is probably one I'm going to hold off on. So this is Tess of the Durbervilles by Thomas Hardy. Again, this was written in, 1891, I think. Or published around that time. I can't remember for sure. This one I'm reading for another Instagram classics a read along. So this one, I read the first chapter. And, I mean, I haven't read much of Hardy at all. Like, I haven't read any Hardy, actually, at all. I read a chapter of Far from the Madding Crowd, and then I didn't. That was the year I kind of failed at Victober, and I didn't get back to it. So, me starting out with Tess, which was always the one I was the least interested in, but it's the one that they picked, so I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. I had it on my shelf. I got it this year at a library book sale. I'm going to read this. But, even though I have it marked off of what I was going to read per week or per so many days, I'm probably going to take all those out. I'm going to wait. This is a book you probably won't see for another 2 weeks. I think I'm going to wait till the 3rd week. Well, I guess it'd be maybe a week. You'll see it next week. I don't know. 2 weeks, I think I'm going to pick this up at the end, have it the last week or 2 of January. I'm going to focus on my other reads rather than this one. So I just made that decision because I just finished Hard Times, and I thought, okay, this is another Victorian classic. I want to wait, and I know that this is going to be traumatic. So I'm going to get through some of the other books or get farther into them before I pick this up. So this one is actually, I put aside, and after reading the first chapter going, okay, I've read this now, but I'm going to wait to actually come back to it. So this one of the 5 was the one that I definitely said later, later this month, just not right now. I also started nonfiction, The Gulag Archipelago, by Alexander Slovenisson. Gosh darn it, I can never remember that in my head. This was translated from the Russian by Thomas P. Whitney and Harry Willits. So I've started this. I've got about 44 pages in. So, but this is a slow read. So I'm not sure. This one I might actually be dipping in and out of. It's just harder for me to get into. This is talking about the gulags from 1918 to 1956. Alexander was actually arrested in the mid 40s, I think, and so then I think that's when it was. I don't know. I can't remember. He only talked about it a little bit, but mostly he's talking about the history of the gulags, and like right now we're talking about the interrogations where people were just arrested because they needed quotas of people to send to the gulags to do the prison camps, to do the forced labor. And they would go out and grab people, and then they'd make them confess to things because they would torture them pretty much. And it's just like, anyway, it's just started. As I said, I'm just getting into it, and it's really interesting. I want to read this one this month, so then in a month or two I want to, I think I have the audio book for Gulag by Anne Applebaum. So I want to read both of those. And then I do want to read his book, One Day in the Life of... Ivan, is it Ivan? Ivan Denisovich. Denisovich or something like that. Anyway, I have that to read too. But I want to read, I'm trying to read this first. So interesting. And his style is very, conversational, in the way that he does his investigative, writing. It's very interesting. He says an experiment in literary investigation. And it's very, it's not like technical, it's very conversational, I guess is how I want to say it. So it's not that it's an easy read, because it's not. I have to focus, but I am interested because I want to read more about this stuff. So, anyway, this is probably going to take me a lot of the month too. I don't know, at some point I probably will focus on it as well, but I picked it up in the first couple days, and I just haven't picked it up in the last few days because I was focusing on hard times. So I will probably, as I said, I'll keep continuing to read a little bit of this, just because I think I just can't read a lot of it at one time. So like maybe when I do a section of some other book, maybe I'll get to the end of the day and read a little bit of this, or I'll read a little bit of this instead of that. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. I told you. I did pick up an audiobook yesterday because I didn't have one in my car, and I gave myself a week off, almost a week off from John Adams. So I thought, well, I need a book in the car. So I picked up another Russian book. Well, kind of Russian book. This is Dead Mountain, the untold story, true story of the Durbervilles. I can't remember how he says it on the thing. Past incident by Donnie Ekar. Anyway, so this is kind of an investigating journalism about an incident in 1959 where 9 hikers were crossing over a mountain, and they went missing. And then when they were found, they were all found outside of about a mile from their campsite without shoes, and most of their clothing missing. And some of them look like they had been attacked, but I haven't got quite to that part yet. But so I've heard about this, and I heard other people listen to the audiobook or read it. So I was interested in this, and I had got the audiobook for one of those deals where you get 2 for 1 credit or whatever. So I decided to get from my library the book, because I'm glad I did, because there are so many pictures in here, which is great. You get to see, again, they're from the 50s, late 50s. So you get to see the people who went out to search for the hikers. And so I'm reading that. I'm already about 85 pages in, about 270. So I'm about an hour and a half, 2 hours in. on the audiobook. The audiobook is really short. It's only about 6.5 hours. So, sorry. So I'm really enjoying this. So I'm hoping to finish that out this week. I'm not sure what I'll listen to after that. Probably not a Russian one, but it called to me, and I got the book from the library yesterday so that I could follow, because the pictures are great. And then the last book that I think is the one that I'm going to focus on through this week, which is why I left it for last to talk about, and that is Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. So I only yesterday finally picked this up and read the first 40 pages so that I'm following along with Jason at Alt Blues Chapter and Verse and get to watch his videos. But again, this comes down to my own reading habits, and I can't keep to a schedule for this one. So the only one that I'm keeping to the schedule, again, is the buddy read with Shawn, the book Maniac, because that makes sense, because that's a whole month long and we have it all planned, and I will make that work. But I can't keep doing this with all the rest of them. So all the rest of them are becoming, like, I'll just read them that week. So this will be my focus this week, is Wolf Hall. So Wolf Hall is the first in the Thomas Cromwell trilogy. The third book, The Mirror and the Light, is coming out in March. So I've never read these books or anything by Hilary Mantel, so I have always wanted to. So I am reading along with that so I can watch his videos. And so far, I've only read the first 40 pages, so that was the first section we had to do for this weekend. And I'm really enjoying this. Again, the biggest thing for me is it would have been a lot more confusing if Jason hadn't mentioned the fact that when the narration talks about they're talking about Thomas Cromwell, and you don't go by who really was talking last, and it can be really confusing if you don't know that going in. I would have been so confused, it would have thrown me off, because again, I have a certain way of writing, in a way I like things to be written, and she just has a different narration style, and I really am enjoying this. I think it was funny that I didn't realize there was going to be some humor in here between Cromwell and, is it Wolsey or whatever, the cardinal. It was interesting. It's also, there's some hard-hitting things already that's happened. But anyway, we're just getting into the fact, very early, Thomas Cromwell, and then there'll be Henry VIII and him trying to annul his marriage, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm hoping to read this, as I said, this week. I don't know if I'll finish it this week because it is 600 pages. I've only read 40. So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping to make really good chunks of this, but again, I do need to read London Belongs to Me today, and then I'll probably read on Thursday. So, Thursday or Friday, we'll see. So I'll just read this around those pages. So I don't think I'll finish it this week, but this is definitely going to be the focus when I'm not reading London Belongs to Me. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so that is all the books. I had a lot because I finished quite a few, and then I just started a whole bunch, and this is so not me, and this is a reason I don't do this, and I should have known that. But you know how you get excited at the beginning of the year or beginning of a month when you have this TBR, you want to read everything, and I do want to read all of these. Tess of the Durbervilles, I'm still kind of we'll see, but I'm gonna read that. I think I just need to wait till the end, near the end of the month. So, but this is where I'm at. I started too many books, but I've, as I said, I think I've got it to where I'm changing it up so that I only focus on one per week. Plus, London Belongs to Me is going to be all through that, but I can't do them all like that. I just can't. I don't know how people do it. I mean, they explain it, they tell me, but I'm like, I can't do that. I need to focus on a book. I need to know I'm making progress. And if I'm not making progress, it hurt, it's like, oh, I'm not making any progress. Well, if you read a couple pages from every book, you're only making a little progress. I want more progress than that one I read. I don't know. Anyway, if that makes any sense. So anyway, how was your guys' end of the year? How was your beginning of the year? Did you guys do what I did and go crazy and just want to read everything? The best thing about this is all these are my books. So I am working on my TBR. I am reading books that I already own. I mean, again, the only library book is here is because I have the audiobook. So it's no money. I've already spent the money. So I'm actually listening to something that I own. So it's all good. I'm doing what I'm... Not that that's on my list of things that, I need to work on, but I'm not getting any other books. So hopefully this will work out. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, I'm just getting giddy. Anyway, okay. I will see you guys later. Bye.